The interruption, but I'm Michaeel Wilbon. Tony, some homeowners are tricking package thieves by putting dog poop in delivery boxes.
Tony Kornheiser, these people are ruining my side hustle. They're ruining it.
Hey, wait a minute. Is this a real story?
I assume so.
Well, you know what? Good. Good. People want to steal stuff.
Porch pirates. Isn't that what they're
dirty.
called? Oh, dirty in a very literal sense once they open the bag,
there
right?
You go.
Yeah, that's what they're called, porch pirates. That's a good name, I have to say. That's like right up there with Brotherly Shove, which is a good name. It's a good name. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. We will get to Florida beating Houston for the men's national title in a moment, but we begin today with the Denver Nuggets firing head coach Michael Malone and deciding not to renew the deal of GM Calvin Booth just 3 games shy of the postseason. The Nuggets have lost 4 straight, but all were without injured star Jamal Murray. The team is 15 games over 500. It's in 4th in the West, and Malone led it to the title just 2 seasons ago. So, Wilbon, does this move make sense to you?
Hell no. This makes no sense to me. Michael Malone and that team, while they have not been exactly what they want to be this year, we're not in the playoffs yet. They can still finish with home court advantage for a first-round playoff series. They still have the guy that I think, while I'm not voting for MVP, I think he's the best player in the world, and that's Nikola Jokic. Tony, it only makes sense if Jokic has somehow gone to ownership and said, Malone and I aren't getting along. And that doesn't seem to be his MO. Maybe that will trickle out the next couple of days and we'll go, aha. But Tony, short of that, and it's not like Jokic is playing with a bunch of first team all NBA or second team or third team or even all-stars, because he's not. So they're not underachieving. I don't have them winning this year, but they won a year and a half ago. No, does it make sense to you?
Well, you know a lot more about the league than I do, and you know a lot more about the team than I do. But if I understand this, they're firing a guy who just 2 years ago won an NBA title. They're replacing him with a guy who has never been a head coach in the pros or in college, and they're doing it with 3 games left. And you say to yourself, wait, this isn't hockey? This isn't Lou Lamoriello? Do you really think that this is going to help the squad? And I would say I don't help the squad. But I don't think it was going to help the squad. I have nothing really intelligent to say about it other than it seems like a desperate move. So you take a
Either
step back.
desperate or petty.
Right, you take a step back, and 2 things occur to you on the step back. One is Michael Malone this poisonous? Does he radiate toxicity and you had to get rid of him now? And the second thing is what you said. Does Jokic go to management and say, I don't want this? The way Antetokounmpo went to management in Milwaukee. The way LeBron has gone. Yeah, and they say, no, I don't. So, because if that's the case, that's different. But I would ask you, you have your ear to the ground on the league. Had you heard anything?
No, I know there's sort of been a power struggle, and there have been the talk of that. And Calvin Booth, who we got to know a little bit here in Washington when he was here, and seemed to do a good job. No, they don't have the kind of talent that overwhelmingly says, oh, the coach has to be doing better. Right. They don't have that. But there have been hints of some sort of power struggle. But that's far cry from get out with 3 games to go.
How can you?
And there's no clear favorite other than OKC in the West.
How do you prepare for the playoffs under this sort of turmoil? To me, the only thing I would take away is this. I would not bet on Denver. Now, I would stay away from Denver. I don't think you're going to get, maybe you will, maybe in the first 2 or 3 games they're going to be great, but I think long-term this has to be disruptive.
No, this is not like with Michigan some years ago before the tournament.
Right.
Replay. You know, this is not that.
Bill Frieder and Steve Fisher.
You got to go into this. It's a grind. It's a haul. It's a whole additional season.
No concept.
And you're going to go in this with a guy who hasn't been a head coach.
Yeah. All right, we move now to last night's nail-biting ending of the national championship game as Florida beat Houston 65-63. Florida led this game for just 64 seconds, but they were the right 64 seconds. Wilbon, your reflections on who won and how it ended?
Tony, immediately and now, you look at those final 2 possessions for Houston, they don't get a shot up. And that's a failing. And Kelvin Sampson talked about that specifically, how it's going to keep him up. And I was rooting for Kelvin Sampson because I know him, and I don't know the Florida coach or Florida people. And I was rooting for Kelvin Sampson because I thought what he's done consistently every year, not just this year, put them in position to win, to come back against Duke. And people get carried away, though. Part of my reflections have to do with reactions and overreactions. And even some of the great analysts. And they act like these games are choreographed, and they're not. They're sports. and they're kids, and they make mistakes. And sometimes the defense smothers you and confuses you and bewilders you, and you don't set the screen or the back screen, or you don't re-screen, or you don't do some of the things that all these adult 60-year-old people are saying these kids must do under the pressure of the moment. Houston didn't get it done. I know they feel bad about that. I feel bad for them, but Florida has, time and time again, they performed under that pressure, and they won, so kudos to the Gators.
Yeah, so I believe that Houston gagged in the way that Duke gagged.
Very similar.
I believe Kelvin Sampson failed in the way that John Shire failed. A little bit more surprising because Kelvin Sampson is older and his team is more experienced. Duke could not inbound the ball. Houston could not get a good shot. Both teams squandered their possessions late.
Oh, yeah.
Both teams could have won, and I would tell you probably should have won those games.
Yeah.
But I talked to you yesterday. I believe I got this right. I told you I was picking Florida because Florida throughout this tournament had been down by large margins and had come back to win. For example, 10 points to Texas Tech late, 9 points to Auburn late, 12 points last night to Houston late, and each time Florida won, they don't gag. Okay, a team last night, they played a team last night, a great defensive team, a team with tremendous experience, and a team that has lived all year in close games and won them, and they beat them.
But you know what?
So I would congratulate them.
No doubt. I looked at last night's game, though, and, first of all, Walter Clayton, they held him down.
But when they needed
Houston
him in
did
the
a
second
great job.
half,
He made 3 baskets that mattered.
Yeah.
He did.
Late.
But I'm saying, okay, but
when they win,
we think Walter Clayton's going to be a real pro, and for that team to hold him down for 35 minutes
they're a great
is a credit.
team.
Yes.
Yeah, they are.
And so I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to get into blaming Houston too much. As you know, I told you, I'm not going to blame Duke too much. Should they have won? I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think that each of those teams should have won. But you know what? Houston doesn't have a great player. But when they cut in the camera cut to Akeem, that's a great player who used to wear a Houston uniform.
Here's an interesting little statistic. Houston has been in the Final Four 7 times.
Yeah.
They've never won. It's the most amount of being in the Final Four without a victory. They did not win with Akeem. But every team that beats them in the Final Four wins the national championship, whether it's the semis or
finals.
Yeah, whether it is.
Just I feel for them just a little bit. I do. Let's go to the Lakers, big boy time. They play tonight, again in Oklahoma City. Then tomorrow night in Dallas. Luka's first game back there since the trade. The Lakers have put out a voluminous injury report for tonight. Rui Hachimura is out. Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Gabe Vincent were all questionable, but an hour ago were upgraded to probable. The Lakers have 4 games left, Tony, and could finish anywhere from 2nd to 8th, which is a play-in spot. So given this precarious circumstance, should the Lakers have everyone on hand in these next 2 games with a playoff spot somewhere at stake?
So our local team, or at least my local team, because we